afternoon, everyone. Adma here. So, just recently, Infinix launched the Infinix Hot 9 in Indonesia. It hasn't been launched in India yet, and there's no news whether it's getting launched in Nigeria yet. But I had a look at the phone and I had this idea pop up in my head. Should a Nigerian actually buy the Infinix Hot 9 or the Hot 9 Pro? So let's actually look into that. Now, the reason I asked this question is because the Infinix Hot series is Infinix's entry-level series. Now, according to Collins Dictionary, entry-level is defined as basic, low-cost versions of products that are suitable for people who have no previous experience or knowledge of them. And then if we switch over to dictionary.com, we have that it's relatively simple in design, limited in capability, and low in cost. So this is what we should be expecting from the Infinix Hot 9. Now, which kind of people are buying the Infinix Hot 9? I've looked around, and most of the people I know, when they are buying their smartphones, want it to do heavy stuff. Girls want their phones to be able to Snapchat most of the time, which means a lot of AR and stickers and all that stuff. Guys mostly want their phones to play games and to be able to multitask fluidly. And when you look at all this, you start to ask, won't the Hot 9 fit into this? Well, let me give you a rundown of the specs of the Infinix Hot 9. Now, it comes with a 6.6-inch screen, a 16 megapixel main camera, starts off at 2 gigs of RAM and moves up to 4 gigs of RAM, and has a 5000 milliamp hour battery. Now, when someone actually sees these highlights, they won't actually think that this is an entry-level device. Normally, an entry-level device will have something like, say, maybe a 6-inch screen, a 12 megapixel camera, or maybe 8 megapixels, 2 gigs of RAM, or maybe even 5000 milliamp hour battery. That's what we expect from something that is said to be entry-level. But this spec sheet doesn't actually look like an entry-level device. So where does the compromise come? The compromise comes in the processor. So it's rocking a MediaTek Helio A25. Now, I'm not happy about this. I was expecting something like the MediaTek Helio P22, which is slightly better than this. Even though the gap between these two chips isn't much, there's still a gap between the P22 and the A25. And I would have much preferred to see the A25 not being in this phone. But we have it, so we'll use it that way. Now, just to give you a little bit of context, the only other manufacturer that I know in Nigeria that launches entry-level devices is itel. Now, itel's latest device starts off at 1 gigabyte of RAM and I believe 16 gigabytes of ROM, or was that 32 gigs? I've forgotten, but you get the point. You don't expect much from this. Now, the Infinix Hot 9 has about 2 gigs of RAM and 32 gigs of internal storage, and moves up to 128 gigs of internal storage and 4 gigs of RAM. And you start to ask, are you sure this is entry level? Remember, entry level is supposed to be low cost with the lowest end specs available and very low in performance. So this spec sheet doesn't actually look entry level at all. Here's the thing. If you're buying the Infinix Hot 9, you're buying it because you just don't have a lot of money on you. That's actually the point of the phone. The phone is made for people who just want to have a phone that has the latest version of Android, can make calls, can do some light multitasking, can also take some decent photos. Don't expect the photos from this to be iPhone grade or anything like that, and all that stuff, but don't expect it to do heavy stuff, especially the girls. Don't expect this to do Snapchat. I repeat, no Snapchat on this phone. This phone, the Infinix Hot 9, is for people who just basically want to have maybe a second phone, or just don't have a lot of money on them and are just looking for something basic that they can use to handle everyday tasks. Well, I'll leave my full impressions of the Infinix Hot 9 for another video. Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss out on the impressions video. And I'll catch you next time. Peace.